The number one thing standing between you and the total of your fucking dreams is not your technique, your program, your peaking protocol. It's your confidence. Because right now you are treating confidence like a reward, like the thing that comes after the PB, like after a perfect squat, after you get that message from your coach going, holy shit, you did that. And I know this is a pattern that you can see yourself in, of outsourcing your belief, of waiting for the numbers to prove to you that you are enough. And so I want to completely shift your perspective on what confidence means to you as a motherfucking powerhouse in this video. Because confidence is not the thing you get at the end. Confidence is not the reward. It is the thing that you show up with. It's literally the thing that gets you the lift, that gets you the dream total. And so when you reframe confidence in the right way, it changes everything. I know that right now you're probably feeling like no matter how strong you get, your confidence just keeps seeming to disappear, that it's not a constant in your life, in your training. No matter how strong you get, your confidence will keep disappearing, or that you have to hit these huge milestones in order for you to feel validated and proved and seen as the strong powerhouse that you know you are, and you know that you can be. And it feels like some days you feel like the most boss bitch there is. You've just tripled your comp max, like PB, like it was nothing. And then the next block, you walk in and you don't even recognize the lifter that you're watching on your video. And you're scrolling through all of these past videos and PBs from the last 3 months, and you're going, what the hell has happened? Like, where has that lifter gone? And so if you want to learn how we completely flip it on its head so that confidence is something that is as easy as a decision away, like it is this switch that you get to just flip on regardless of your externals, regardless of the block, the place that you're in your training, your last competition. It is not something that wavers based on all of these external things around you. It is a light switch that you get to flip on in your internal, and you cannot believe it gets to be so easy. If you want to feel that way, please grab yourself a pen and paper, watch this video until the end, because if you are anything like me, if you felt the horrific weight of doubt, this pressure to perform, the fear of falling short that is just ruling your training right now, I am so glad you have found this video. Buckle up, because this is literally for you, and I cannot wait to teach you everything. Now, if you are new to my channel, hi, I am Beth. Welcome. I am a national level powerlifter, but I am also a strength coach, a mindset strategist. I have an incredible team of powerhouse women. I work with world-renowned athletes, world record holders, and I am an unapologetic believer that your strength potential is leaps and bounds above what you currently believe is actually possible for you. That maybe right now you feel there is a huge fucking gap between what you know realistically one day could be possible for you, but the current identity that you hold and how you see yourself as a lifter, creating this huge block. And so it feels like an impossible task, or it feels like there is this huge disconnect between the lifter that you are, the way that you are showing up. Maybe it is the beliefs you hold, the behaviors that you hold, the habits that you have in your day-to-day, and your wildest dreams, your dream total that if you achieved it, you would be like, holy shit, I cannot believe that I just did that. And I have felt this way for the longest time, and so I want to start this video with a story about where I was about 8 months ago. Now, if you have followed me before, if you have obviously been in this channel for a long time, I've had this space for nearly 3 years, and I originally started my YouTube channel to document my journey starting as a powerlifter. And I haven't posted a video in quite some time, because behind the scenes, there has been so much work going on, not only in my own training, but also with my business, with the women that I coach, the way that I coach, the way that I deliver my services. There has been so much happening. And in that time, I've learned so many lessons. But if you are new here, I competed at British Nationals. I compete under the IPF, British Powerlifting, in November of last year, so November of 2024. And if you have followed me and if you've subscribed to my channel for all of this time, you will know that this was a particularly challenging, is not even the right word. It was a really difficult time and a really difficult experience for me. Now, I remember so vividly standing in the warm-up room at British Nationals. It was the Hangar in Wolverhampton, and it was the most incredible space. I have been to British Nationals many times before. It was just this huge venue, like just space upon space. I genuinely believe that like music concerts could have been held there. There was 2 bars, there was like 5 different entrances and exits. Like, it was an incredible space. And had I walked in as the athlete that I am now, I 100%, like without a shadow of a doubt, would have walked into that space and been all consumed with nothing but excitement and, you know, holy shit, I can't believe that I get to do this. But instead, at that point in time, in my identity, in my life, in my training, I was filled with fucking dread. Now, like I said, I started my channel to document the process of actually getting into powerlifting. And my goal from the get-go was to one day get to nationals. And just over 2 years later, here I am about to step foot on the national stage. Or the national stage. I grew up as a dancer. That's my go-to. The national platform, I should say. It felt like a stage. That was the type of venue it was. Like, all of these bright lights. There were 2 different platforms, live streams. Like, it was such a mainstream, insane event. There was over 350 athletes, I think, that were there. And oh my God, I was one of them. And this was literally my dream ever since starting my page, not even my page, my YouTube. I vividly remember, I'll tell you a little pre-story to this. When I'd finished university with my boyfriend at the time, that was the first time that I'd ever heard the word powerlifting, because at the university gym, they had a powerlifting team. It was called, I went to the University of Kent Barbell. I actually had the pleasure of working with them for a little while after I left uni, but that was the first time I'd really heard about powerlifting. And after I went home. I don't even know what federation I looked at, but I typed in the words powerlifting into Google, and I went on the first federation website that I found, and I went into the results and just checked the totals from the latest competition in the weight class that I would have entered at that time, just to see the standard. And I remember scrolling down, women's, okay, cool, under 69, and I finished, and I looked at it, and my finger ran down the page, and I was like, holy shit, with what I can lift now, having not even done any training. I think I'd literally just started with my first ever online coach at that time. And I was like, I literally wouldn't come last with the total that I had. And it was that moment that everything changed for me. And looking back, that was the level of confidence that I had. But I even knew at that point in time, I wouldn't feel like a full fucking powerlifter until I had the validation of like, I wouldn't come last. And so going to British Nationals was the literal pinnacle of, holy shit, I've made it. In my head, that's how it would feel. But instead, lo and behold, having that as the outcome, I still didn't feel confident. In fact, I was anything but. In my mind, it was literally the total opposite of how I expected to feel at that point in time. And I can tell you now that it's because I was waiting for that moment in time, that platform to come around, achieving the total to get me to nationals, to finally feel validated in who I was as a powerlifter. I had the words baby powerlifter in my Instagram bio 2 years after I started actually competing, because I was waiting to achieve a certain total to actually feel good enough as a lifter to actually own this label. It felt like powerlifter was a really big word for me to say as someone who'd only done a few competitions. But at that point, I had 2 years of experience under my belt. I was literally coaching and being coached by a powerlifting coach. There was nothing standing in my way. And so there I am in this warm-up area at British Nationals, all of these bright white lights all around me. You've literally got the White Lights Media guys who are the official photographers, videographers of every powerlifting event, walking around taking my photo, and I'm there trying to look composed, and inside I literally wanted to vomit because of how nervous and really out of place I felt. I literally felt like I was this ghost. And it was almost like I was like wandering around trying not to get caught, because I felt like I should not have been there. Now, objectively, the qualifying procedure for British powerlifting now in the the open age class has changed. It used to be that you would hit a certain total in order to qualify for British Nationals. And that, at that point in time, but they've now changed it, like I said, at that point in time, I had objectively earned my right to be on that podium, to be on that platform, the same as anyone else. I'd achieved the qualifying total. That is literally your fast track pass to go, cool, you are a national standard, off you go to British Nationals. And there I am surrounded by all of these strong fucking women. Some people had the same total as me. Some people had another, 200 kilos on my total. The winner definitely did. But there I was, almost walking around like this ghost, expecting someone to like find me out. Expecting for someone to catch my eye and be like, you don't belong here. And guess what fucking happened? I took that belief loud and proud with me to the platform. And I had my worst performance to date. Now, the numbers that I hit weren't even objectively bad for me, especially with my strength at that time. They were probably numbers that I would have been relatively happy with. But I had little to no self-belief in myself, and my entire prep, I was outsourcing. I was avoiding posting. And if I was posting, I was refreshing my feed every 5 minutes, waiting for someone to say like, holy shit, you're so strong. I can't wait to see you at Nationals. You've worked so hard for this, for me to finally believe it myself. I would not comment on anything. I would just send it to my coach and wait for him, my coach at the time, to validate me, to send me through something that again would make me feel good enough, like I had earned my spot, instead of internally believing it myself. I was waiting until I would be matching PBs or hitting what I thought I should be hitting in my prep before I actually felt confident enough to step on that platform. And of course, lo and behold, that never fucking happened. And I remember having put down my last deadlift. So I went 6 for 9, which is the first time I've ever done that. I missed all of my third attempts. My deadlift in particular, it took a real hit off my total. It was something that had been blowing up the year before, and then come about 4 months before Nationals, totally in my head, started completely self-sabotaging in terms of my execution, wanting to change this, wanting to change that, because it felt like a safety blanket. And I went 6 for 9. I lost 15 kilos off of my PB total at that point in time. And I remember walking all the way around. So I was on the far platform. Like I said, there was 2 platforms, and you literally had to walk all the way behind the platform, behind the next platform, all the way around, all the way behind the actual warm-up area, all the way back around to get to my stuff. And it literally was probably like a 200-ish, maybe 300 meter walk. And this entire time, I do not remember taking a single breath, because it felt like the minute I inhaled, I would fall apart completely, because I had just been wearing this mask, trying to muster up the strength, the mental resilience to get through that day. Now, my partner's coach works with SBD. Big brand where we get all of our, gear, singlets, knee sleeves, everything from. And we put our stuff next to the SBD stand. And I went to go and get my things, grab a drink. And my coach was texting me at the time saying, like, well done and all of this. And I just felt like, to be honest with you, a complete and utter fraud. And he ended up calling me. And I remember the minute that happened, I could not hold it together. And I ended up walking around behind the back of the SBD stand. I took the phone call and I lost it. Every single thread that had somehow been holding me together for that day completely ripped and popped at the seams. And I remember having a complete and utter breakdown. And at that time, there was a private physio session happening behind the SBD stand with one of the athletes. And I remember being like, this is so fucking embarrassing. Here you have like literally one of the best athletes in the UK. I think she went on to win the under 76s. That year, and there she is, like just having a consultation. I'm like hiding in the corner, facing my back to her so no one sees me breaking down, and I literally, that sob that just comes from deep within and you cannot hold it together. And I just knew I'd completely shot myself in the foot with the prep. What I haven't also gone into, I've spoken about this in a previous video, was at that time, because my anxiety was so awful in the lead up to that competition, I actually triggered an onset of what I now know to be IBS. And so in the lead up to the competition, my nutrition was awful, doesn't even begin to cover it. I could barely stomach anything without it triggering further flare-ups. I felt like I was filled to the brim, but I also wasn't able to stomach anything. I had the most horrendous pains. It impacted my sleep. It impacted my recovery. That I know will have all contributed to my performance on the day. And I now know so much more about my brain-gut link. And it all stemmed from the fact that I was completely outsourcing my self-belief and my self-confidence on outcomes, on expecting to hit PBs before I started feeling confident in myself. That once I achieved a total that I would be proud of to showcase at nationals, then I would feel confident. Then I would actually start showing up as the athlete that I had been chasing for 2 years to actually get to that platform. And after nationals, my self-concept, self-worth, because I was viewing confidence in this way, hit an all-time low. And my anxiety got so bad that for 2 weeks following nationals, I had heart palpitations to the point where I was in so much pain, discomfort, panicking, that I genuinely thought at 26 years old, no, 25, about to turn 26, I was having a heart attack. And I remember I was doing this one Monday, I was doing back-to-back client check-in calls, and between each of them, I literally was like struggling for breath. And on one of my hands, I started feeling pins and needles, and I was like, that's it, that is the teller. I think I'm having a heart attack. And I had to cancel one of my client one-to-one check-ins, which is the number one thing that breaks my fucking heart, because I adore my calls with my clients. And I had to call 111. And the lady on the other end of the phone was so incredible. She was like, listen, when it comes to your ticker, we're not going to mess around. And she got me a space at my local hospital. It was a 10-minute walk away. And I literally just went to go and get myself checked out. I spent 8 hours in A&E because I had to have an ECG. When my ECG was normal, I had to have blood tests. When they showed to be normal, I had to wait until 9 p.m. to go and have an appointment with not even a specialist, the on-call, I don't know who I spoke to, but we had an appointment, and she again was incredible. I did not feel dismissed whatsoever. At that point, I know it probably wasn't a heart attack, but it still couldn't explain the physical symptoms. I was like, what the fuck is going on? This is awful. And it's been going on for 2 weeks. I've literally got numbness in my hand. My heart is not beating regularly. I'm barely sleeping. Oh my God. And she was so incredible, went through all of these tests, went through sensations. She looked like literally did a full body assessment to then tell me, I think this is anxiety. And I think you've been in a perpetual state of anxiety for the last 2+ weeks. And this is what's causing your symptoms. And I have previously struggled with my mental health. I've been very, very open about this in the past. It's actually the reason that I started my coaching, because I never wanted women to feel this way. And when I started strength training, it changed my life. And in a lot of ways, it saved my life. And this is where my entire origin story as a coach stems from. And I've had my fair share of experiences with anxiety before, but I will tell you right now, never to the level where I was genuinely convinced I was having a heart attack. Now, that in and of itself was a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. But in that moment, I remember walking out of that hospital feeling so, not even silly, because it is a very real thing and I knew what I experienced. And like I said, everyone that I dealt with on that day was so incredible. I never once felt dismissed, belittled for what I was experiencing or going through. But I knew that in that moment, I had to make a decision. I knew I never wanted to feel like that again. And my coach at the time had been saying to me, look, there is nothing you could have done. I know that you've had the most horrific IBS flare-ups. You have not been in the best place. And I don't think, quite honestly, that there was anything we could have done. I think you did the best with what you had on that day. And I knew to a certain extent that he was right. But I also knew, in hindsight, after I'd been to the hospital 2 weeks after nationals, I remember looking back and thinking, no, this is completely on me, and I hated to admit it to myself, but it was completely fucking true. And I knew that in that moment, if I'd never wanted to feel like that again, I had to make a decision that I could keep chasing results, keep going after numbers, I could keep waiting for lifts and outcomes and totals to prove that I was strong enough and inadvertently that I was good enough. Or I could decide then and there, no matter what the outcomes were, what my results were, what the numbers showed, what my total was in training, whatever competition that I decided to enter next, I am going to fucking show up like I am already in my power, like I am already that lifter. Because I spent an entire year circling the same total, the same lifts, the same mental blocks, the same hurdles that I kept tripping myself over because I was waiting. I was stuck in waiting mode, waiting for the results to come before I would feel confident, before I would feel good enough, before I would feel validated in who I was as a lifter. And I sure as hell did not spend 2 years getting to nationals for that to be the outcome. And let me tell you right now, that moment was one of the lowest moments I have ever had in my entire life, but it changed my fucking life. It changed everything for me because in that moment, I made that decision. And in that moment, I started trusting myself in a way that I never had before. And within a month, my IBS symptoms, my flare-ups had completely died down. The other thing was I ended up losing an awful lot of body weight, obviously, because I was barely eating going into nationals. I was literally living off of white rice, olive oil, and Biscoff. Peak nutrition. But because of that, I started losing weight. And it had also been something that I'd been trying to do that entire year. I literally was starting at 65 kilos, could never really push past about 66.5. And within a month, I was starting to see very steady increases in my body weight again. And that level of trust, changing the way that I saw confidence from not an output, but as an input, the thing that I decided to show up with, the thing that was the start point, instead of the end outcome, the reward, the thing that I earned after the fact, it literally changed everything. And that level of trust, that level of confidence does not come from hitting PBs. It comes from everything in between the lifts. And I have literally spent the last 8 months of my life. I'm going to do an entire different video on this, and I would love to know in the comments as well what specifically you want me to go into, but I've got so many things coming away. It's insane. So stick around, make sure to like and subscribe. But I spent 8 months completely rewiring my mindset, completely unpicking, rewriting limiting beliefs that had been holding me back isn't even the right term for it. Like, completely tripping myself up over and over again. I skyrocketed my confidence, and do you know what happened? The minute I made the switch from seeing confidence as an outcome to the thing you show up with, the start point, the input, everything in between the lift is from nationals to the next competition that I decided to enter myself for in March, November to March, 4 months. I added 15 kilos to my total. Since then, I've also added another 10 kilos. So 8 months on, that is 25 kilos on my total. I've been able to actually, bulk up. I've added 3.5 kilos of body weight, which as someone who still struggles with her IBS, that is how much that single flip. And it is as simple as that decision, that choice to make that switch, that is what finally brought me the outcomes that I was chasing and trying to validate myself with over and over, that I was trying to outsource everything to. And it's so ironic because it will never ever feel that simple. And I know that it sounds counterintuitive, but fuck me, the way that you respond to things that don't go to plan, the identity that you hold when no one's watching, those are the things that will literally double your strength. And what I utterly love is that this is an overnight decision if you let it be. And I know that having spoken through this, you will be resonating. I know that you will be feeling like, shit, yeah, do you know what? My confidence it's tied to my results. It's tied to the PBs, the training numbers, what other people think, what my coach says, what my comments are, what my feedback is. And it makes me fragile. Because this puts you on other people's timelines, the timeline of your prep, the timeline of your block, of your coach. And it puts your sense of self-worth on those things, on the outcomes, on the numbers, on your coach, on the competition. And then if things don't go exactly to plan, you feel like you are stuck, literally scraping your self-belief, your self-worth, your self-concept off that platform like it is a piece of gum on the bottom of someone's shoe. And it's fucking horrible. I know how much it sucks. And I also know that you feel so frustrated because you can also see your potential and you understand, you feel in your body that you are tripping yourself up. And I know that you feel this pattern of feeling so fucking good on certain days, like cough, cough, ovulation, certain periods of the month, right? And then it all comes crashing down again and you keep getting stuck in these loops. And the thing is that until you make this switch and until you spend the time rewiring these beliefs that we are inherently protecting by outsourcing our confidence and by outsourcing our belief onto other things, you will keep getting stuck in this loop. And I say this with so much love because this is literally what I was going through. But this work has completely transformed the last 8 months of my life. But my love, what you need to do is own that motherfucking power, choose confidence before anything else even starts, before the prep, before your block, before the coach gives you your feedback or the go ahead. It is a choice and it is a decision to see confidence as the input, not the output, the reward, or the thing you earn. Because otherwise this becomes something I call the fragility trap. Because like I said, when you tie your confidence to the lift, to the competition, someone else's approval, the comments on your Instagram, your lifting bestie hyping you up, you get this roller coaster highs of one day where you hit a PB or maybe you triple, like I said, your comp max, right? And then you're watching it back and you feel utterly paralyzed the next. The confidence wears off because now that you no longer feel validated, now that cloud 9 sensation having hit the PB isn't there anymore, you are left with nothing but everything you were running from. And so when you miss a lift as well, we hit the highs, but when you then miss a lift, that self-doubt creeps in and then we spiral into these self-sabotage patterns. And then of course your progress stalls, and what are we left with? Well, either way, we chase the confidence as the output, we crash and burn, and we're left with staying in the same places. Or when we don't get those outcomes, it fucking crashes and burn and we stay in the same place. Because it is a trap. It is a trap to outsource your belief, right? And I've seen this time and time again. You are not alone in this. High-level athletes, people that have never ever stepped foot under the gym before, under the bar before. I have seen this over and over again where you get so close, you hit these waves of progress and you ride it, your top sets are moving like fucking air, you really build some momentum and you're like, oh my God, it's happening. And then it slips. And it's because the confidence that was so obvious, loud, tangible, you could literally feel it in your motherfucking soul when everything was perfect, is suddenly gone. Because it was tied to your performance. And then the moment that top set feels heavier, the moment that your RPEs start feeling a little bit like questionable, the doubt starts creeping in. And then when you don't feel like the version of yourself that you want to be, the lifter who is going after that insane total, all of a sudden that confidence fades. And it isn't because of your programming or because of your technique or because of your peaking protocol. It is literally rooted in mindset and identity. It's rooted in ownership of how you see confidence. Because if your confidence is always dependent on results, it will always be fragile. It's a fragile trap, right? But when it's built on conviction, on a decision, if you know so deeply who you are, what you stand for, the lifter that you want to be, the things that she would be doing every single day behind the scenes, how she would be talking to herself in the gym, what she'd be wearing, the playlist she'd be listening to, what she would be showing up as, this is when it becomes something that is unbreakable, unshakable, that isn't fragile. It is literally a constant in your life. And this is the shift that I want you to make. And I want you to really hear this, because confidence is not something that you earn after the lift. It is not a tally. It's not a reward. It is not something that is embedded in the total you are chasing. It is an input. It's the fuel that you bring before the session, before that bar even starts moving. It is the thing that you decide to have before anyone else is cheering, before you get the feedback, the new block from your coach, before the outcome is decided. Because when you start treating confidence like a decision, not a feeling, when you start treating it like a choice you are making, not a reaction to the numbers, it will change your motherfucking life. And let me tell you now, it will be the one thing, the difference between the total you have, yes, but also the person that you are, and achieving that Delulu dream total and feeling like you are finally that powerhouse athlete that anything can happen for, that doesn't get knocked off, of course, of, her self-belief doesn't waver because of one external thing, because she knows internally, truly who she is, what is possible for her, what she needs to do, and also understands that confidence is something you decide to have and show up with regardless of the outcome. This is the concept of conviction, of doing the thing, of taking the action regardless of the evidence to show that it's working or the results to show that it's working. Because if you wait for it to appear after the lift, you will always be chasing it. And that kind of confidence, like I said, is fragile, but it's unreliable. It's dependent on something outside of your control. And when I made this decision for myself, it's the only way to build strength that truly lasts, not just on the platform and in the gym, but in your life. And this is why I so adore the work that I do now, because I saw that when this happened for me, I lifted with less fear. I went about my days with more freedom, more ease, more peace, more clarity. I performed with a sense of calm that I literally never thought possible. And I've just competed at Southern qualifiers, and the total that I hit didn't necessarily reflect what I wanted or what I knew that I could do based on the training that had happened. However, it is the most fun I have ever had at a competition, and it also reminded me to come back to the sense of fun. But the reason that I had the best comp ever is because it truly healed something in me, because the Southern Qualifier is part of the national series. So it was a national level platform. And to have that stark contrast of the lifter that I was back at British Nationals 8 months prior to who I was on that platform, I was like, holy shit, this is the woman that I've been chasing. This is the version of me that is going to go after that 400 kilo total, and I know will be able to achieve it in probably an insane amount of time. That was the change, and it healed something in me because I was able to perform with this sense of calm and clarity and almost like peace that I never thought was possible, especially in a sport like powerlifting. And it wasn't, I'll be honest, I hit one PB on that platform. I missed 2 big PBs that I was going after, but I never thought I would be so excited to miss a lift, because I showed up as the person who could. And they were huge mental milestones for me to be at a point where I could even load them up. And I've seen this with my clients over and over. I've literally taught my clients this framework, and when confidence is the input, the output naturally follows. I have a client who started with me 3 months ago, and in 11 weeks, she had achieved a European title, European champion, British champion, 4 back-to-back world records, 5 British records, an invite to world championships, and has completely reframed who she sees herself as a lifter. She has achieved 2 lifetime milestones that she never thought would be possible for her at the start of the year, 3 months into working with me. Because we spent her prep doing this work. We've made tiny refinements to her technique. Yes, we had a fire program, obviously, guys. It's me. This is who I am as a coach. But she also spent the majority of her prep shifting how she saw her confidence, talking about her personal life, doing this work. And to this day, this is the reason that she was able to achieve that title of British champion at her last competition. Because when it is a reward, confidence, it slips the moment the plan changes. And this is why shifting who she saw herself as a lifter and the confidence that she decided to show up with, that was the difference. And so for you, the lifter that is watching this right now, I know that right now you understand that you are either pushing to prove your power, or you are pushing to prove that your fear was right. And that is it, that there is no in between. And the truth is, that you do not need your numbers to validate you. You do not need perfection to feel strong. What you need is the conviction to step up, to show up as the lifter that you want to be, that you know you can be, the powerhouse athlete before that bar even moves. Knowing that it is a decision away, that it is a choice to show up with that level of confidence. And when you start choosing confidence as a decision, as a mindset, as an identity, you build it before the lift, in the spaces in between the lift, the way that you respond when things go wrong, the way that you celebrate with yourself when things go right, your life, your total will fucking transform. Because this is the version of you that will hit the lifts that you have been dreaming about since day dot. I want you to, for just a second, come back to your why and think about when you started embarking on this journey, when you started thinking about lifting, powerlifting, you stepped foot in that gym for the first time, all of the things that you saw all of these incredible women doing and thinking, holy shit, I want to do that someday, I know you have achieved. And so I know that you know this is possible for you, and it truly gets to be that simple. That you get to be the lifter who does not crumble when one variable changes. That you own your motherfucking power, no matter what your total, your 1RM, your estimated 1RM, that trajectory says. Because confidence is not a trophy, it is literally the foundation, and everything else will follow when you make this choice. And this is the work that we are doing inside of my brand new magnetic mindset course. This is a 10-day confidence challenge. Now, if you are watching this video after the 18th of August, you can still jump in and join. It won't be live, but you can access the entire thing. And if you are watching this before, I would absolutely love to have you inside. I'm so fucking excited because I am literally going to be teaching you not just this framework, but everything that I have done, learned, and since taught my one-to-one clients in the last 8 months of my life, the exact framework that has utterly transformed my mindset into one that is completely magnetic, that literally has magnetized my dream total, PB after PB, but that has also made me a magnet for attracting any future goal that I know will come my way. Because that is just who I am, and I cannot wait to teach you this, because when you do this work, it will change your life. Because all of a sudden, strength flows with ease. It is not something that you feel you have to keep working for, proving and outsourcing before you start believing in yourself. When we do this work, we make that internal switch. Your mindset literally becomes the magnet that pulls in your boldest, your bravest, your most delulu lifting goals straight into your reality. It will literally spark the fire that fuels the hunger that I know that you have to build a life, a total that matches the level of strength that you and I both know that you have. It will literally spark the identity upgrade that aligns who you are right now with the powerhouse that you and I both know you are destined to be. And it becomes the power switch that switches off the doubt, the fear, the hesitation, the overthinking, the outsourcing, the belief, the validation, blah, blah, blah. And it flips on conviction, the resilience, and this unapologetic level of self-belief and confidence straight to you. And so magnetic mindset is not just a challenge, it is literally the rebirth of your powerhouse identity. And so if you have loved this video, if you know that this is the thing that will change everything for you, I would love to have you inside. All you need to do is click the link below. If you want to know more about this, you can DM me on Instagram. I've got all of the details over there as well. So I hope that you have loved this video. This work has literally changed my life. Please make sure to send it to your powerlifting bestie, your current training partner, anyone that you know needs to hear this, because literally the simple switch will change everything for you. And I know that this will magnetize and pull in the total of your fucking dreams the same way that it's done for me and the same way that it does for my clients. So please like, subscribe. I will see you in the next video. But for now, go and be the bad bitch powerhouse that you and I both know you can be. Choose and decide to show up with confidence as an input instead of waiting and outsourcing for it to be the reward at the end. I will see you soon.